Halloween has always been a regular date for me. While people were partying in costume, I was working on my dimmed screen. Coding was my life. Tonight was no exception. When Julian called me in for a crash, I went for it without hesitation. When I finished, it was almost 1:30 in the morning. The streets were there, dead, the moon, a cold and distant eye. Good. Exhausted, all I could think about was going home, showering and sleeping. 15 minutes was all it took. Heavy air weighed on the empty roads I traveled. Nothing abnormal. Then I saw a girl alone at a forgotten bus stop, dressed like Samara from The Ring. Pale, black and wet hair. She couldn't have been older than 14, standing there all alone late at night. I stopped, rolled down my window, and asked if she needed a ride. She turned, her face partially obscured by her hair. I hesitated, worried she might feel unsafe, but she nodded softly, whispered thanks, and got into the car. A smell of earth and decay filled the cabin. I held a high heart, blaming his costume. "You really took care of your look, didn't you?" And I laughed. His gray skin seemed to have macerated under the water. The attention to detail was disturbing. It was only on the bridge that she spoke. "It's not a costume," she whispered. I forced a nervous laugh. "What's your name?" I asked. "Samara," she replied. A chill ran down my spine despite my eyes on the road. Clearing my throat, I asked, "Aren't you a bit old for trick-or-treating?" She let out a raspy laugh that froze me. "I am, but Halloween's my favorite night," she said. "Too bad my parents won't let me celebrate anymore." "Why?" I asked, regretting immediately. "They think I'm sick. I spend my days locked in the attic." His voice, one whisper, weighed heavy in the air, suffocating. I felt a knot in my stomach before I could react. Samara turned to me, her hideous face visible in the dim light. I first saw her skin peeling in rags on her cheeks. It wasn't makeup, but my eyes saw his arms and the raw red flesh underneath. "Want to see a magic trick?" she asked. Her smile chilled my blood before I could answer. She tore a piece of skin off her face. It snapped away, revealing oozing crimson flesh. I had never break so abruptly. "Are you sick or what?" I cried, but she laughed, tearing her skin everywhere. Blood tasted and smelled, my god, thick and putrid, invaded the air. My vision was choking, blurring, my hands trembling as I reached for the handle. The air was heavy, suffocating me. And that laugh that didn't stop. I threw myself out of the car, tripping and running. I could hear my heart beating in my ears. I didn't look back, I couldn't. I ran for a long time. Then I arrived at a gas station the nurses believed seemed to be salvation. I staggered in, out of breath, trying to explain to the salesman. In an instant, the cops were alerted. The agents arrived quickly, and when I explained, their looks exchanged seemed to haunt me forever. They didn't think I was crazy, but their silence spoke volumes. They walked me back to the car. I was there, engine idling, but the passenger seat was empty. Instead, an elderly couple stood by the side of the road. Their faces were tight with worry. The officer spoke to them briefly before turning to me. "Here's Mrs. Peterson," one of the cops said. "Their daughter Mary has been missing since last week." I stared at the couple, struggling to understand. "Mary, she's not well," Mrs. Peterson said in a trembling voice. "She had a high fever years ago." It has affected his skin. The bullying at school broke him forever. Mary thinks she is Samara. You know, the girl from the horror movie The Ring drowned in a well because weird and creepy. I felt the blood leave my face. The girl, she wasn't a ghost. She was real. Everything was. Everything she said was true. Even worse, she compared herself to the dead girl in the movie Ring. The cops asked me where I had seen him, but I could barely speak. I kept seeing his skin peeling off his laugh. I mumbled something about the bus stop. When they left, and anguish came over me. What if they didn't find her in time? What if she hurts herself or someone? Halloween is all about masks, but sometimes we don't know if it's a costume or a costume. My heart did a good job when I matched with Adam. His profile showed a charming smile, dark hair, and a mysterious air. He said he was new in town and looking to meet people. We talked and joked late into the night. By the way, I wrote, my uncle throws a great Halloween party every year. You should come. Adam replied, that sounds fun. I'll be in a sailor suit, white uniform, navy blue detail, black mask. Looking forward to meeting you. Her already ready costume looked weird to me, but Halloween was approaching. On the evening of the party, my uncle's old house was buzzing with music and laughter. Her house, the star of the season, was decorated like a real haunted mansion. I had a Charleston dress with feathers and pearls, like in the 20s. While chatting with friends, I spotted Adam on the other side. His sailor costume suited him beautifully, the black mask adding mystery. He approached with a confident smile. Julia, I presume guilty as accused. Glad you could come. The power went off right away. It made me feel like I was alone in this crowd. We were dancing to the rhythmic music and he leaned towards me. I imagine you as a princess dancing in these corridors. I did. My uncle's Halloween parties are always great. I didn't see him. Elsa would have introduced you. He smiled mysteriously. You seem to have grown up with great traditions. I chuckled. Later, he suggested we find a quieter place. He led me to my uncle's office, full of antiques and souvenirs. The smell of old books and waxed wood enveloped us. I hadn't been in there for years. Adam took an old picture on the fireplace. Is that you? I looked at the picture. It was me as a child sitting on the porch of that house. Yes. I didn't know my uncle had seen him again. Besides, you have hardly changed. I was a child. You are still yourself. What's nothing? He nodded, eyes hidden by his mask, concealing a beautiful face that I wanted to see. He stared at me, put his hand on my back, pulled me in and leaned in to kiss me. I stepped back and decided to change the subject. I'll have to join my friends. Back at the party, I looked for my phone, but it was no longer in my bag. It's weird, I whispered. Everything is fine. My phone is missing. I must have left it somewhere. He reached into his pocket and handed it to me, which he found on your uncle's table. I took it slowly. Oh, thank you. I didn't remember taking it out, but the doubt persisted. I apologized. I might need a drink. Adam held out a glass from a nearby table without letting go. Here, taste this. I hesitated. What is punch? Just promise. It'll do you good. I sipped cautiously. The room seemed warmer, the lights too bright. Adam stayed close, his hands brushing my elbows. You look tense, okay? Did I insist? Without certainty, as the evening progressed, I felt that something was wrong. His voice, his gestures, everything seemed strangely familiar. I tried to remember if we had ever met in vain. Wanting to be alone, I went to get the toilet on the way. I saw a door ajar, a storage room. Driven by curiosity, I entered on the shelves of boxes with family names. One box in particular caught my attention. She was named after my mother. I opened it, finding old photos and letters. Among them, one photo froze my blood. It was my uncle at an old Halloween party wearing the same sailor costume. Cadence the white uniform, navy blue details and black mask. I stepped back, overwhelmed by the memories. The way Adam knew my childhood, his familiar gestures, his presence in the office surrounded by family memories. Heart pounding, I went back to the party, scanned the crowd frantically but couldn't find him. Seeing my parents, I rushed to them. "Mom, Dad, I must talk to you." He seemed worried about him, my dear. I told them everything. Their faces turned pale. My father clenched his jaw. "Are you sure?" I nodded. He knew things, personal details and the costume. Without another word, my father called the police while my mother stayed by my side. Shortly afterwards, the police arrived, making their way discreetly among the guests. They found my uncle doing drugs in the garage and escorted him out, his mask off, revealing a smug air. Passing by me, he had a smirk. "I just wanted to dance with you, my little Julia. I'll be back for that kiss." I shuddered. My mother hugged me tightly, realizing that someone she trusted had crossed that line, left me exposed and vulnerable for the next few days. I was trying to figure it all out. How long had he been watching me? Why did he do that? One thing was for sure, masks are not always part of a disguise. Sometimes they hide the darkest intentions. I have always loved Halloween. The disguises, the escape from everyday life, the thrill of being someone else for an evening. So when my friend Alyssa invited me to an exclusive pirate party on a private island in Hawaii, I couldn't resist. It was organized by a wealthy entrepreneur she knew through his job at a luxury travel agency. We arrived on the island just before sunset. The pink sky bathed the palm trees and the pristine beach with a magical glow. A large replica ship was anchored near the shore, serving as a setting for the festivities. Lanterns hung from the trees, the sound of the waves mingled with the music in the distance. It's amazing. My pirate captain costume, sexy red coat and high boots matched Alyssa's. On my way to the main area, I saw guests arriving in elaborate costumes, some more authentic. The attention to detail was impressive. Sailor waiters offered exotic cocktails in an electrifying atmosphere. We were given a gelatinous, shiny treat. We mingled with the crowd, enjoying the atmosphere. Despite the animation, I felt a slight discomfort. The staff seemed too attentive, the gaze lingering. Security guards were posted discreetly at each exit. "Have you noticed the security here?" I asked Alyssa. "It's a VIP event with wealthy guests. Of course, you should be careful." I nodded, trying to chase away this feeling. We continued to party, dancing under the stars. Later, I went out to get some air to the quiet beach. I saw whispered guests. "I heard he's moving them tonight. Are you sure?" It was scheduled for tomorrow. Change of plan. Boss doesn't want delay. I frowned. Perplexed. "Emma," a voice behind me, almost made me jump. I turned to see a flight officer, looking impassive. "The main event will begin. You're welcome to join us," he says, politely but firmly. "Okay." He took me back to the main area where Alyssa was waiting. "There you are. They're going to launch the treasure hunts." We were given old maps and divided into teams. The goal was to find hidden clues leading to the grand prize. It sounded like fun, But the conversation I heard bothered me as I sank into the vegetation. The path was blurred. Does that sound weird to you? I whispered to Alyssa, "You're thinking too much. That's the adventure, that's all." We reached a clearing with an old chest under a tree. One member opened it, revealing a note instead of a treasure. "Return to the ship for the final test," she was saying. Bewildered, we turned around, but our path was gone. The trees seemed thicker. The voice dimmed. "It's weird. I could have sworn we were there. Our cell phones had no network." Suddenly someone screamed. We turned to see figures coming out of the trees in black, masked. Before we could react, they surrounded us. One of them stepped forward. "Please stay calm. We need your cooperation." "Who are you? What do you want?" "Your families have the means. They will pay dearly for your safe return." Kidnapping. That word hit me like a blow. It was a trap. Alyssa grabbed my hand. We took off into the jungle, chased by footsteps. Adrenaline was rising as I dodged trees and roots. I spotted a narrow path to the beach. We hit the sand, the ocean stretching out before us. In the distance stood the replica of the ship. I had an idea. The ship. They may have a radio to call for help. We ran to the boat, climbing the gangway despite our shaking legs. The bridge was strangely quiet, without the cheerfulness of before. "Check the captain's cabin," Alyssa said. We searched the cabin, hunting for communication tools. Instead, we found files about us. Photos, personal details, family connections. They had planned everything, Alyssa murmured in fear. Footsteps resonated on the deck. Hiding behind a cupboard, we listened as men entered and rifled through the room. Then I noticed a rocket launcher against the wall. I pointed it out, and Alyssa nodded. I held out my hand, praying that the shadow would hide us. When a man approached, I shot him. He tripped over his accomplices. "Run." We ran away, the chaos behind us. On the deck, other guests were clustered together, visibly confused and frightened. I fired another flare to distract them. Alyssa pointed to a lifeboat. We hurried to get it down, but the mechanism was slow. The kidnappers were getting closer with one last effort. The boat hit the water. We jumped in and started rowing as hard as we could. Later, a Coast Guard vessel was spotted, attracted by the rocket. I felt relief when the kidnappers retreated hours later. I woke up in the hospital and everything had changed. We were told that fishermen had rescued us, that the boat was a 17th century pirate wreck. There were traces of a private party on the island, but authorities found no one else. They also found a lot of drugs in our bodies, surely related to the shiny jelly we were offered. We never knew what was real and what was hallucinating. But the fact is, none of the other guests were ever seen again.